Welcome back to JB Reviews. This has never happened before. I forgot to do an intro video for this one. So we are going to be testing out a Grand Wagoneer with the new inline 6, which is the high output, and my wife's Wagoneer, which has the 5.7 liter V8. So we're going to see fuel economy and we're going to see acceleration. Let's get into the video. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and get on the highway before it gets too busy. I have driven a Grand Wagoneer in the past. This thing's $115,000. I have to be really careful. I just reset the fuel economy. I kind of wish I would have ordered my wife a Grand Wagoneer now that I see this interior. And I just should have got a Series 1 with no options on it, because I really do like this interior. Like, there is a difference. I know that for most people, you're not going to really see the differences, but the air suspension is so much nicer too. It adjusts on the fly for you. You don't even notice it. It's so quiet. It's actually a little bit quieter than my wife's. Now, the good thing about this test is my wife's Wagoneer has the exact same wheels. They should get about the same fuel economy. So now we're on the main road here. Let me adjust the mirrors. I said this in the last video that I did. I hate the Wagoneers that have the power steering column here, because whenever you stop it and get out, the steering wheel goes up, but it doesn't return back to where it was. I hate that. And the Grand doesn't do that. So that's something that I do like more about this one. This interior is so luxurious. Like, this is nice. And hopefully in a couple years, maybe I can buy my wife a Grand. But we could not afford this right now. 115 grand. Whew! That's depreciation I cannot afford. We are going to monitor the temperatures on this. So once this thing gets a little bit more warmed up, the coolant and oil is pretty much warm. So that's good. But the transmission is still a little cold. Now, this does have the exact same transmission as my wife's Wagoneer. So the gearing should be the only difference out back, which is, like I said, this has a 392 and my wife's has 321 rear gear. Hate it or love it, twin turbo 6 cylinders are coming to take out V8s. And the reason why is because they're supposedly more efficient. We're going to test that out on this test today. So can this engine get better fuel economy? You have 510 horsepower, which is pretty insane. You also have 500 pound-feet of torque. They're showing that the EPA estimates are about 20 on the highway, 14 city, which are not that great when you consider, you know, the V8 over here. This has e-torque, which I'll go over in a second. But what I want to know is the RPMs, things like that. So this has an 8-speed transmission. But let's go ahead and just check out some of the performance with this inline 6. One thing that I think most people are going to hate if you've already bought a Wagoneer or Grand Wagoneer is the fact that this doesn't feel like that burly SUV that it should be. And what I mean by that is you don't hear that V8. Like my wife's 5.7, it has that burly grunt down low. Now I'm going to show you guys some acceleration here. So we're actually at a nice little spot to do it at too. Traffic is going to pick up here, guys, in a little bit, so this testing will have to kind of be with a little bit of stop and go, things like that. But let's go ahead and pull up right here. So you ready? It's about to happen in about 5 seconds. Here we go. Oh wow. Whoa! Wow. So this thing is fast. I have actually driven a Toyota Tundra and it has a twin turbo V6, and it felt pretty fast, but I think this might take the cake. Whoa! Oh my gosh! Holy smokes! Whoa! I feel like I'm driving an electric car. It does have that same feeling when you accelerate. You don't really hear the engine. You don't feel the vibrations. It just feels so tame. And I'm going 72. Let me get up to 75. I'm gonna put cruise control on. This does have the cruise control where, let's see if I can get it to do it. All right, so this does have the steering where it'll basically steer for you and keep you in the lane. You have to keep your hands on the steering wheel though. It'll probably tell me in a second to put your hands back on the steering wheel, you idiot. There it is. So you do have to keep your hands on the steering wheel. But this does help with the comfort of driving, like, you know, especially in stop and go traffic. You don't have to keep your feet on the brake and on the gas. So this is so much better. But let's see, so far, I don't really want to tell you about the fuel economy because it's not going to be good because I just did some acceleration, but I'm at 10.4, and as I mentioned, we're hitting some traffic up here. So let me go ahead and get over. I'm going to get off here, and I'm going to go down this road because there's a lot of traffic this way. So I want to get a nice, consistent speed here for you guys. But man, this thing is so comfortable. Even like the signal sounds upscale. You hear that? It's the little things. So one thing I like about the inline six is you don't have multi-displacement, which is the deactivation of cylinders that the V8s have. Those systems have been prone to having issues like with cams, things like that. So hopefully they can make this engine reliable. I'm not getting that good of gas miles. It's actually really bad. Now, my wife's 5.7, however, gets great gas miles. Like, I can easily, and maybe I'll have to redo this test. Maybe I'll drive maybe 10 miles out on the highway and back to see how it does. But like, one thing you have to understand is if you look at like the current, so it shows you the current MPGs, right? The fuel miles is like showing 15. I'm only going like 55 miles an hour, and I'm actually going the speed limit. I'm not going 10 over, and it's showing 15, 16. So like, it's not good. So that's what I don't understand about these V6s, inline sixes that these manufacturers are trying to push down our throats. If you're only getting 2 or 3 miles per gallon better, is it really worth having a forced induction engine? Because forced induction doesn't always mean longevity. So if you keep a car for 10, 15 years, I mean, turbocharged engines, they do reduce the life of an engine because those turbos are forcing air into them, and that's why they have so much power. Like, this thing's fast. I almost want to do another acceleration for you, and maybe I will. Actually, I will. I'll do it from 50 and we'll accelerate. And then maybe I'll do the exact same thing with my wife's Wagoneer so you guys can see just how fast this thing is. This thing is fast. Oh, actually, let me let this car go. Go. Yeah, this thing is super fast. It's super comfortable. Air suspension is going to ride better, and I didn't think I was going to notice a difference, but there's a little bit of a difference in how soft it is. But yeah, this is definitely a good SUV. 14.1 MPG is not good, but I mean, this is a heavy one. This thing it has every option you can get basically, except for the TVs and maybe a few other things. But for the most part, this thing is pretty decked out. Even it has the nicer 22s, which I like. And yeah, I mean, this thing is just, this is on another level. I think that a lot of people say that this is nicer than the Escalade, and I think those people haven't actually gone and sat in one of these. The Escalade doesn't hold a candle to this. Like, even the fact that the roof of this thing is suede. Like, I know that there's a suede roof in the Escalade, but I think you have to go high up in the trim levels before you start getting these nicer features. And in the Grand Wagoneer, a lot of stuff does come pretty standard. Sadly, most people are not going to miss the V8s, and you probably should. I know that having the sound and all that stuff, for some people they don't care about that, you know, but when you see this kind of fuel economy, I just feel as though I would prefer to just have a V8. I mean, 14.6, and we'll see, maybe once I go on the same route with my wife's, maybe on this trip. I mean, I did a lot of stop and go. I've, you know, stopped at stoplights, things like that. I've accelerated a couple times. So if we can get above 16, I could probably say it's gonna be better, but I don't think so. But here's some of the temperatures. Oop, I'm going the wrong way. So 201 coolant, 149 for the transmission, and then oil temp is 201. And the reason why I showed the temperatures is if you do plan on towing, or if you do plan on, like, I don't know, using this like for off-roading, you can always monitor what normal temperatures are. That's why I like to show the temperatures for you. So alrighty, we just made it back, and so I'm just gonna pull up right in front of the other Wagoneer, and I'll show you guys the number. Okay, here we are. So we finished off at 15.2, and we drove for about 21 minutes and 13 miles, almost 14. So let's go ahead and see what the Wagoneer is going to do. I just reset the fuel mileage. Let's go ahead and get down the road. I want to go the exact same route. Hopefully, if I remembered it. Probably should have paid attention to what road I got off. But man, not having a sunroof, not having the larger screen, there's a huge difference between the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer. I used to get angry when I saw that they didn't do much different, but there's a big difference between the Grand and the Wagoneer. There really is. As I've mentioned, the engine noise sounds good. You hear that exhaust note. Whew. You can't go wrong with the V8, I'm telling you. And I feel like this is not as comfortable. Like, let me try to get the seat about where it was in the Grand. It's not as comfortable. Now, one thing I want to point out, this auto stop start did not come on in the Grand at all. Like, even when it was all warmed up and everything, I had the AC and everything off like I have it in here, and it never came on. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get down the road. I'll show you guys some acceleration here in a second, but I think we're gonna win in this one, just saying. But we're gonna go ahead and do that acceleration here in a second, so let me go ahead and get set up, and we'll just see just how good this thing accelerates against that inline 6 twin turbo. It's not going to win the acceleration. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to win. This thing does not have that kind of grunt. And of course, the 6.4 is actually what that really competes with, because that is the high output inline 6. So here it is. This is the 5.7 liter V8 that we're putting up against the Hurricane. This is not just a gas engine. This is actually considered a mild hybrid system. So this has a generator right here, has a battery pack. It's going to be good for 392 horsepower, 404 pound-feet of torque, and it has that supplemental torque down low off the line when you do go. So we've made it to the same transmission as the Grand, and this one has a 321 rear axle because I did not have max tow, which would be 392. The acceleration goes to the i6. It's just totally outgunned here. I think if the 6.4, if I were to do a test with that, I don't think the 6.4 can accelerate fast enough to compete with that inline 6. It's just a lot of power. Now, if you do get the standard output inline 6 for the Wagoneer, I believe it has 420 horsepower, 468 pound-feet of torque, which is good numbers. And so it doesn't have as much horsepower as the Toyotas, I believe. I believe Toyota has like 479 or something like that. They're definitely a little bit more up there than this one. than the standard output would be for this one here. But yeah, traffic is really starting to pick up, so I'm glad I'm doing this test as I'm doing it right now, because yeah, it's starting to get pretty busy out here. But I'm gonna go ahead and jump off here, and we're gonna jump on to this other highway. We'll go down about 5 miles or so, and then we'll kick back over, and I'll show you guys what the fuel economy is. But I might have had to put my foot in my mouth yet again. I'm constantly doing that. I think that inline 6 might win from what I'm seeing here. I'll tell you in a second though. So let's go ahead and check on the temperatures. You have 210 for the coolant. Transmission is at 122 and the oil is at 181. Now I'm at 183. I don't remember what it was for the Grand Wagoneer, but maybe I'll show it to you here. But I think that the coolant is higher than what that inline 6 runs at. And here's where we are for the fuel economy. So we did come to a complete stop back there. I actually had to exit the interstate. So we are doing a little bit better than I thought we were, actually, 15.4. So when I did the acceleration, that's when I looked at it. So I guess maybe I did put my foot in my mouth. And I did not turn off that pesky multi-displacement because I want the V8 to win, because I'm trying to prove a point here. Because most people aren't going to turn it off. But if you do want to turn it off, all you have to do is just hit the gear limiter down right here, hit the minus sign, and it'll put you into 8th gear if you're at highway cruising speeds above 60 miles an hour. And that way it won't drop down to 4 cylinders. So I am going to keep it off for you guys from this point on, just because I typically would not use that system if I was driving, even if it did land me another mile per gallon better or so. Now, one thing I noticed back in the Grand Wagoneer is the brakes weren't as touchy. The Wagoneer brakes are pretty touchy, but I don't remember feeling that same feeling in that one. And the ride is still comfortable in this Wagoneer, but the Grand kind of floats like on a cloud. I think that's the best way to put it. And when you hit bumps, I feel like that's where the Grand wins at, when you hit the bumps. But when you're on like a smooth road, you probably couldn't really tell the difference in the ride quality. But the brakes are definitely more touchier in this Wagoneer. Now, we only have about 2,400 miles in this thing, so I wanted to make sure that it's clear. So this is kind of broken in, and that does help a little bit with fuel economy. I did turn the auto stop start off too, because it would come on in this one for sure. So I am actually kind of cheating for the inline 6, so let's be honest here. But we're about to make our way back to the dealership now. I'm at 17.4. I'm not cheating, I'm telling you. This 5.7 gets better fuel economy because of the e-torque system too. Here we go. Sorry about that, guys. We didn't need to see the speed. It was clearly in favor of the inline 6. It was definitely faster. So yeah, if you want more speed, then opt for that inline 6. And you can still get the 6.4, I know, in the 2023 model. So if you don't want the new engine, if you're just a little concerned about reliability, you can still opt to get the 6.4. I'm not sure about the 5.7 though for the Wagoneer. I think that the inline 6 standard output is the only one you can get, I believe. So here it is, 13.9 miles driven, 18.2 MPG, and I guess, what was it? I can't remember what it was. Was it 25 minutes driven? So we did drive a little bit less. So, like I said, the V8 is not dead. Let's face it. But I hope you guys liked the video. Special shout out to Larry H. Miller, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram in Sandy, Utah. They did allow me to do this video with their inline 6 Hurricane engine. And they do have quite a few here. They have 3. I don't know where the other one is. They might have sold. Be sure to check out their inventory and let them know you saw the video if you do decide to buy from them. See you guys in the next video.